And now let's welcome Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru, to the show. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, and it feels so weird saying that, Jane, because it's 7:30 in the evening for me, but it is 9:30 in the morning for you. So good morning and namaste, of course.
And namaste to you too. I'm so happy that you're on this show because I've been following you on LinkedIn and we've been corresponding for quite a few years now. And we have some lovely people in common, like Shelley Elslinger, and she's just amazing with the Kind Club that you're part of as well. And so now having you on your career podcast is such an honor. And I want to find out all about your career journey and then all the amazing things that you're doing for people on LinkedIn now. So, how about, Jeff, to kick us off, you tell us a little bit about back in the early days, what were your early career aspirations?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you again for inviting me to be here. You're right. I've been following you for quite some time, and we've been connected for quite some time. And I enjoy all of the things that you've done, especially some of the partnerships and collaborations that you've done with And I didn't call you this when we first met, but I should. We can maybe rename this podcast "Fun with Jeff and Jane." Okay. Uh, and I only give myself top billing on that one because I'm paraphrasing a movie that I saw that was a funny movie one time called Fun with Dick and Jane. But so thank you again for having me, and I love what you do, and I love what you do with other folks like Jillian and Shelley, and there's just it just amazes me how many great people you find out on LinkedIn. So uh, to answer your question, my earliest memories of what I wanted to be when I grow up, was actually an astronaut. I kind of grew up in the 60s, so I was fascinated with the moonshot, and a hero of mine was Neil Armstrong, who was actually from Ohio. He wasn't from Columbus, Ohio, but he was from Ohio. So that was one of the earliest memories I have of wanting to be an astronaut. Now I never got there, of course, although some people would think I'm kind of spacey. uh, but but no, I didn't get there. From that standpoint, I got lucky that really when I got a little bit later in my life and went to high school, I had a very, very good guidance counselor who said, you're pretty good at math. Maybe you ought to get into computers. And I went, computers, that's interesting. I don't know much about them. What's good about them? And he said, well, it pays well. And I went, oh, okay. I'll take that. And I did actually go to school to become a computer expert, if you will. And so, my earliest job was actually being a down and dirty programmer. And that was back in the mid 70s. And from that standpoint, I got paid about down and dirty as well. I mean, I got paid slightly less than dirt, uh, but because just coming out of, I never went, well, not never. I went to a technical school in order to get an associate degree so that I could get into the business. I was around computing so long ago, Jane, that they called it business data processing.
Hmm.
IT. They didn't call it IT then. It wasn't information technology. It was business data processing. Ooh,
back,
so
back in the day.
oh yeah,
but
and
but
I,
the thing is that early on, I mean, getting into business data processing or information technology, as we like to call it now, that was something quite new and different. Because to be honest, when I was growing up, I had no idea about computers. We didn't have computers. I remember
yeah.
in high school, I learned how to type on a manual typewriter. And the day when we got the IBM Selectric electric typewriter, gosh, this is really dating me, isn't it? It was so exciting. We should have a podcast where we just talk about the different technology and how that's progressed. But then,
Oh,
so you
absolutely.
went into data. What did you call it? Data information
Business data,
processing, or business data
yeah,
processing,
business data processing.
and
That's what they
and
called it at that point.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I know that with your career, you in the early days you were a project manager, and then you secured a job at Ernst and Young, and you were the director there doing IT management consulting before transitioning into human resources. Now that's really interesting. So tell me, how did you make those transitions?
Well, okay. So first of all, starting out as a programmer, and
Mm,
I really enjoyed being a programmer. In the early days, you used all kinds of basic languages, and something they called ALC, assembler language code. Boy, I'm really dating myself on that one. Nobody's going to understand that. They're not going to understand what I just said. But so I enjoyed it because it was very gratifying for me to tell the computer what to do and then actually have it do it. Okay, so those were the beginning processes of the start of it, and I enjoyed that piece of my career. Now, what ended up happening, and I think this happened to a lot of people, what ended up happening if you're really good at what you do, okay, someday somebody's going to come up to you and they're going to say, you're really good at what you do. Okay, how would you like to manage other people who
mm,
do it as well? And I went, well, sure, that sounds like fun. I mean, I've always been the kind of person that works well as a team, in a team anyway. I'm an extrovert. I really I pull in tandem much better than I pull alone in many instances. So I started being a project manager as well. So, and I did that before I ever got to Ernst Young. And so I started, doing that and learning the softer skills of things as well, right? They talk about that from the standpoint of, hard skill is technical. Okay, the soft skills are the people management kinds of skills and understanding how to motivate people and et cetera. So I started doing that and did project management for several years, switched jobs a few times, ended up switching jobs in the mid 80s to Ernst Young. Okay, and I didn't take a step down, but as a parallel step, I went from being a project manager to being a basically a senior consultant. Okay, and it was still IT, so it was still IT. And actually, when I had gotten downsized in '85, and someone actually suggested to me, would you think about working for, at the time it was actually called Arthur Young, because it was the
mm.
big eight back then, which of course
Yes,
became the big six, which became the final four, which
mm,
you, et cetera.
yes.
So they said Arthur Young, and I said, Arthur Young, isn't that an accounting firm? Okay, I don't count beans. I'm not that kind of person, right? They said, no, 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 there's this new thing. And again, in 84 to 86, it was a new thing called management consulting,
Mm.
which was in essence IT consulting, computer consulting. And I said, oh, sure, I'll interview with them. That sounds like fun. So as they say, the rest is history. I spent the next 16 years with them. Okay. Now, one more significant transition here. About 9 years into my career with Ernst Young, okay, having gone from senior consultant to manager to senior manager, okay, and ultimately up to director, as you mentioned. About 9 years in, I was working for my local community IT office, community consulting office. And I got farmed out on sabbatical to the organizational development arm of the firm to help build some project management curriculum and those types of things that were related to things that I had had a great deal of experience with. So I did that. And then afterwards, I decided that I had so much fun doing that, that what I would do is I would go to them and I would ask them, hey, how would you like to have a person who's got 9 years worth of street creds, being a consultant, help you teach consultants about how to be consultants?
Mm,
Because I had so much fun teaching.
mm,
And they said, well, let us think about it. Okay. They wanted my expertise as a part of that process. So I switched from, okay, the consulting piece of the practice to the internal organizational development. I never really ever worked for an HR department, but I worked with a lot of HR departments. So the organizational development of the arm, and ultimately as a director, I became responsible for all of the onboarding training that was done for the Ernst Young consulting practice. And you talk about fun.
mm.
That was just the best time of my life. The variety was there because I got to work with a lot of different kinds of clients, working with all the different folks, all the thought leaders that I got to, I mean, people from all around the world, some including, as a matter of fact, Australia, who would come to the US and be a part of our team, and do contract work with us. It was fabulous. I learned so much. I had so much fun. And I'll tell you what, if you ever want a challenge, okay, try teaching a partner in a big eight consulting firm? Anything. Well, come on now. They didn't get to become partner
Mm,
by doing it wrong.
mm,
Okay. And you're about to tell them you want it to do it this way. And they're going to go, you want it to do it that way? Why? Why is that better for me? Okay. So you better have your act together and be able to tell them what it does make them better doing it that way.
yeah.
And, you know, remember the old commercial about EDS and herding cats? That's it.
Mhm.
That's how you train partners.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting listening to this journey because you've got the technical capability and yet you've got very strong people skills or soft skills, as they used to call them. We tend to call them human skills or people skills now, yes? And having that combination is quite unusual for an IT technical professional. So I think with the combination of your technical functional capabilities, your general managerial and people leadership capabilities, that lent itself really well to be able to influence senior partners to do things the way that you would like them to do them. And
No, that's
really,
quite true. Yes.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and that was the piece. I think that's why they came to me initially and asked me to do the project management, the softer skills in the first place, is because they could see in me the fact that I knew how to motivate people. And as a matter of fact, in my career with Ernst Young, one of the best compliment, you won't, this may not sound like a compliment to many people, okay? But one of the best compliments one of my mentors ever gave me is he said, you know what? You really know how to motivate people and tell them something good. Okay, he said, but the better thing is you also know when to kick them in the butt.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think yeah,
that kind of motivation
communication
makes a
skills
difference.
is yeah, communication skills and that ability to influence and negotiate and turn the way that people think around is such a valuable skill as well. And so you must have really loved that part of your career.
I loved the fact that that kind of thing was the primary skill that you needed in order to teach people. Okay. And that is what really ended up being my why. Everybody says, oh, you need to find your why, right? And they're right, you do. But it took me, it took me 30 years of a 40-year career to find my why. Okay.
Mm,
But then I got to do it for the rest of my career, which was wonderful.
mm,
And again, being out there, being up in front of people, teaching people, I discovered that that was my why. And one of my heroes has always been a gentleman from also the kind of Midwest, although it's more like St. Louis or points south here in the U.S. A gentleman by the name of Mark Twain. Okay,
yes.
and the famous quote from Mark Twain for me has always been, there are two important days in your life. The first one is the day that you were born. The second one is the day you figure out why. And if you can figure out why and then go do that for the rest of your life, you are never going to work a day in your life. I know that sounds, you've heard it all before, I'm sure.
But it's so true. It's so true when you know what it is that really pulls you in a certain direction and you know that you're fulfilling that why, or I like to call them career anchors, that true anchor that pulls you, that feels just right. It's a joy every day. I feel it because I love being a coach. I've got a new name for you, Jeff. I know you're the LinkedIn guru and that's your hashtag, but I think the teacher would be very strong because that's I feel you're the teacher, aren't you?
It's perfect, okay? Because a lot of times when I'm doing a seminar, I introduce myself as the LinkedIn guru.
Mm.
And I didn't call myself that. Someone else called me that in one of my classes. They said, they came up to me afterwards, shook their finger at me and said, Jeff, you are a real guru at this. And I went, ooh, guru. I love the sound of that. That really works. Well, how it really, really works is the fact that I looked guru up in the dictionary. And guess what the definition of guru is? Teacher,
Mm-hmm.
mentor,
Mm.
okay, etc. Yes, that was me. And so, I always I would substitute, I said, yes, hi, I'm the LinkedIn guru. Okay, guru means teacher. And oh, by the way, I sometimes introduce myself by saying, hi, I'm a teacher. What's your superpower? Okay, which no one else can see because this is a podcast, but you can see that my brand behind me is the boy in blue with this big red S on his chest. Okay, that is my superpower. I wish for everybody to find their superpower. Everybody has one or multiples, okay? And I wish for everybody to find those, because if you can find those superpowers, you can literally fly. It's amazing. You'll feel like you're flying anyway.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I have to say, the background image for you with Superman ripping open his shirt and revealing the Superman logo is so powerful. I'm going to have to use that when I do a post on LinkedIn with that, because it looks
Oh,
so,
please
so
do.
good. Looks so good, Jeff. And you know what? Because you are the teacher, now you had many, many years, a really successful career from IT, from project management to IT to management consulting to human resources and assisting people. But then you've had this wonderful illustrious career, and then you transitioned into, now I'm using my fingers as inverted commas here, retirement. Now, so many people, now this is where, because your career podcast is all about career transitions and how to make a successful transition, this is really interesting, because this was not just a few years ago. This was many years ago that you transitioned into what people would normally call retirement. And then you think, oh, you'll go and play golf or put your feet up or, lie on a beach and sip cocktails. But no, that's not what you did. You became a LinkedIn trainer, teacher, volunteering in so many amazing places to assist. And it's been so many years. It's been over a decade that you have been the LinkedIn guru, and you do this with such passion. So tell me about this transition. What happened?
Well, the transition again, I retired in 2008, at the beginning of 2008. And I guess I should say that, retirement never felt like to me that I would go out and play golf. It's just not my thing. I liked golf. I mean, I actually used to refer to golf though sometimes as a good walk spoiled.
Yes.
Because it could be very frustrating. As a matter of fact, I never really played good golf until I stopped caring about it so much and being so frustrated, and just calmed down and enjoyed the walk. So at any rate, so it was never fishing, it was never golfing, et cetera. It was just going to be the next chapter. And that took some planning, okay? And I think people don't realize, especially, again, I realized it fairly early on in my career, again, in my 30s, that if I was going to retire when I really wanted to, I would have to well, okay, here's another project management term. If I was going to retire when I wanted to, I would have to plan the work and work the plan. Okay, so then that's what I did as far as retirement is concerned as well. So I did all of that, retired in 2008 because I could, and financially and physically. I wanted to retire early, so I did. I retired at 54 years old. And one interesting point about that one too, Jane, is that when I retired at 54 years old, people would come up to me afterward. I'd introduce myself as being retired, and they say, "Oh my goodness, you're too young to be retired."
Yeah,
You know,
54. You're a baby at
well, okay,
54.
yeah, you look too young to be retired. Well, now that I'm 67, I go out and do my teaching, and I say I'm retired, and people go, "Oh, that's nice for you," because I look like I should be retired. But anyway, so the retirement to me was really just the next chapter. Remember, I found my why. I wanted to
Mm,
teach.
mm.
So if I was going to retire, I was going to find something to teach. Okay. And I've also always been a networker. I mean, you talk about the communication skills. One of my closest friends defines networking as the exchange of information for mutual benefit. And I totally agree with that. It's about communication. It is all about communication and getting to know one another. So when I retired, I knew I wanted to continue to network. And when I retired, I also, I relied on my network. I said, I want to continue to network. What's a tool that I should use to do that with? And to a person, they all said, LinkedIn. You've got to do LinkedIn. And this is in 2008. So LinkedIn was only about 5 years old at the time.
Mm.
Okay. But in 2008, it was still the thing to do. It was still a thing to network from a professional basis. Okay. So I looked at LinkedIn and I said, "Ooh, I don't know much about this." Now, I've had a LinkedIn account since 2004. Okay, because someone told me that you need a LinkedIn account. You've got to have a LinkedIn account, or you don't exist. So I did what typically everybody else does. I created a LinkedIn account and I just let it sit there. It did nothing for 3 or 4 years. So in 2008, I looked at my account and I went, oh, I need to learn about this. I need to understand how to do this. Okay, because I've never done anything like this before. And so, and I've never really been a Facebook fan, not really. So, but so I needed to learn how. And to me, the easiest and best way for me to learn how was to go back to my why and say, let's teach it to other people. I'll learn about it by teaching it to other people. And that's exactly what I started to do. I used to teach two seminars a month, which became 4 seminars a month, which became 6 seminars a month, which at one point in time, we actually became 9 seminars in 1 month. And when it got to the 9 level, I looked at myself in the mirror and went, hey, you're retired. What are you doing 9 seminars a month for?
Mm,
That's too much like work.
mm,
Okay. So I tailed it back and now I do 5 or 6 seminars a month. And that doesn't feel like work. That gives me plenty of time to do whatever else I want to do as far as retirement is concerned. But I became, and as I said before, someone ended up calling me the LinkedIn guru, which matches with teacher, which says, yep, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to continue to do it as long as there's a need and as long as people appreciate my doing it. And the good news for me was, and I don't know about good news for anybody else, but the good news for me was that I could do it and I didn't have to worry about being paid for it.
mm,
Because part of, let me explain one other thing in terms of being, with a company like Ernst Young. It was absolutely nothing to do a 70 or 80-hour work week for a company like
mm,
that. And on the road, 85% of the time, never in your local community, right? So when I retired, I wanted to contribute to my local community. I wanted to get involved in my local community. So I started teaching LinkedIn in my local community. Okay. And I did, and I focused, and I still do focus on that teaching. There's at least 2 or 3 a month that I do that are focused on nonprofits and other organizations that are here in my local community. So that was the process. I wanted to give back to my community. I wanted to do something like that. So that's why I do it for free. Believe me, I've got nothing. I'm not against people making money.
mm.
I mean, everybody should be paid for what they do, but I just get paid in something different, right? If people actually go to my profile and look, they will see that I get paid in 3 C's: coffee, conversation, and occasionally chocolate. And yes, people do pay me in chocolate.
Well,
Okay.
I think that's fantastic. If I was in Columbus, Ohio right now, I'd be running over with a huge block of Toblerone for you.
Well, and sometimes I also, by the way, when I say that in one of my seminars, I also say, oh, by the way, Chardonnay is a really good C as well.
Mm.
So, and people have actually paid me in Chardonnay as well.
And why stop it there? The thing is that coffee and conversation, that conjures up a lot of warmth and friendliness and relationship development, and chocolate is makes you feel happy anyway. So it's a really happy feeling that you are imparting onto your local community, but not just your local community, because LinkedIn is global. It's to everybody, and that's how I found you. Or I don't know, somehow we stumbled across each other, I'm sure through the network and other people who have that same mission in life to make a difference in their community. And you're part of this wonderful thing on LinkedIn called the Kind Club with
Yes,
Shelley Elslinger, yes,
Ellie Elslinger,
and
yes,
that
the LinkedIn
emanates.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got the LinkedIn Superman guru here,
And we
and
have
then the
LinkedIn
LinkedIn
teaching.
Wonder Woman. What can I be? Maybe I'll be Catwoman because I'm a crazy cat lady.
Ooh, that
That
would
could
yeah,
be that could be my new
that would work for you. Yeah.
logo. Yes, Catwoman. Oh, I've just thought of that. So anyone who knows me knows I'm mad keen on cats. So I actually might think about that and send that off to you, both you and Shelley, to approve my new logo.
Yeah.
How good would that be? But yes, so we met, and part of the Kind Club. Can you tell me a little bit about that and your involvement?
Well, Shelley created the Kind Club in about January of, I think, uh, 2019.
Mm,
And Shelley and I have known each other long before that.
mm,
And honestly, and here we are back at LinkedIn again. Okay, Shelley and I have never actually met face to face. But this is the way that relationships can get built. This is the human factor of LinkedIn. Shelley is about 8 hours away from me because she's in Toronto and I'm in Columbus, Ohio. And but we got to be really, really good friends. We talk practically 2 or 3 times a week. We have matching T-shirts, like I said. It was just a thing, okay. And I've ended up calling Shelley my sister from another mister, because she's the sister that I never had. I never actually had a sister. And forming the Kind Club she is so based in kindness and reciprocity, and it just fits her to a T. So I was one of the first that grabbed nobody's going to be able to see this, but grabbed one of the armbands and said, I need one of those. I'm going to support whatever you do here because I love what you do here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have one of those too. It's very
Oh,
exciting when
absolutely.
it arrived in the post.
There again, LinkedIn helped spread that word, that hashtag,
Decide
decide
to
to
be
be kind.
kind. Yes.
Exactly. Hashtag decide to be kind around the globe. And those have traveled thousands and thousands of miles. So that's the beauty of LinkedIn. It's just amazing to me. Shelley and I have gotten to be such close friends that we have actually the last 2 straight years exchanged Christmas presents, but we've never actually met.
Mhm.
Isn't that great? I mean,
Oh,
it gives me
wonderful.
such a warm and fuzzy feeling just saying things like that because it is possible through a tool like LinkedIn.
Mm.
Okay.
And
And
you know what's so wonderful as well is because of technology and your roots are based within technology as well. Being able to not only speak on the phone and to type messages to each other on LinkedIn, we can also have videos and voice recordings, and then now we've got Zoom, so you can take it to the next level where you can actually look at each other and have a really good chat in real time. That's made the entire world such a tiny little place. Yes, and it
lots of
doesn't matter as long as our time zones are in the right zone, and I'm not sleeping or you're not sleeping when the other one is awake. Then we can really link up and get to know each other very well.
Oh, I mean, I have daily conversations with you and other folks in
Yeah,
Australia all the time. Usually that daily conversation is through DMs because
yeah.
I'm asleep when you're typing and you're asleep when I'm typing.
Mm,
But obviously we can arrange for these kinds of things as well. I mean,
mm,
I've done LinkedIn lives with other folks in Australia. When it's 5 p.m. my time, it's a lot earlier for them there because it's the next morning.
mm.
But and that's kind of a challenge. You guys are always ahead of me. you, you are always ahead of me. I mean,
For
and in your
18
case as well.
hours.
In your case, 14 hours ahead of me.
Yeah,
So no matter what I'm doing, I'm playing catch up.
yeah.
But on LinkedIn, it's possible to do that.
That's a good thing.
And because of I get to comment on your stuff, you get to comment on my stuff. And it's like having a conversation. It's just not as quite as good as a Zoom conversation,
Mm,
like this is, where you can actually see each other, see the smiles, and have a lot of smiles. Okay.
mm.
It makes a big difference. To,
Yeah.
to me, connecting with someone on LinkedIn is the continuation of a relationship, not the beginning of a relationship.
Mm,
A lot of
mm,
people try to connect with people they don't have any idea who they are.
yeah.
Honestly, that's not my thing. My thing is finding out about someone enough that I'm interested in them, then connecting with them and starting to build the relationship. Which is why, by the way, one of my best practices on LinkedIn is that once you connect with someone, the very next thing that you should try to do is say, "Hi, thank you for connecting with me. Let's actually meet up and talk." Okay, let's start the communication. And if it's a person here, I'm gonna want to go out and I'm gonna let's go have coffee. Okay, well, now we will anyway, since we're coming out of the COVID times. Well, that wasn't even possible before. But the backup to that is always a Zoom call. I offer a Zoom call across the time zones. I'm sure that you can look back at when we connected, you can see that message in our DMs somewhere that
Mm.
said, hey, if we can arrange this, a schedule something that matches across the time zones, let's Zoom. Okay. And we did.
Mm. I 100% agree about the authenticity of connections on LinkedIn because I won't connect with everybody. I get too many automated requests, or else someone reaches out because they want to sell something, and that's not the way that I like to use LinkedIn. What I want to do is to be able to assist people. If I'm going to reach out, it's for a very good reason. There's something, either I'd be able to help them, or I need assistance as well, or we share the same values, or there's just something that it's like, if I met you face to face, I think we'd be friends. That's the important thing for me on LinkedIn, because it's all about relationship development. And I have to say, I don't know if other people do this, but sometimes if I've connected with someone and then the very next message is, oh, buy my stuff, I'll disconnect right away, because I
Yeah,
think, oh, come on, give me a break. This is not the platform to do this sell.
no,
You can
no,
educate people about what you do, and then if they're interested, they'll come to you anyway. You don't have
yeah.
to say, do this. And especially when it comes to private messages, because I find that's almost like spam.
Absolutely. If you're out there and showing what you offer, then people are going to gravitate toward you. They
Mm,
really are.
mm,
It just happens naturally.
mm,
And honestly, I get it. Okay. Yes, LinkedIn is a place where you can find prospects and you can sell, okay, through the social aspect of
yeah.
selling, which is building relationships first. I saw a graphic one time that actually it was just two blocks, okay? Social here on the left, selling over here on the right, okay? The social block was about 5 times as tall as the selling block,
Mm,
okay? That's the emphasis on social, the result being selling, okay? That's the idea. If you
yeah.
do that the proper way, I think it will work every time. And I think people treat it as a numbers game. I've really never treated LinkedIn as a numbers game either. Sure, it is great to have some nice numbers. It is great to see people, the view count go up when you put something out there. Okay. But you know what? That didn't happen overnight. That never happens overnight. Not if it's done well. Okay. When I first posted, nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew who the guru was except my own network. And my own network is the ones that actually passed it on to other people to help me, and then LinkedIn helped as well. LinkedIn gave me the option of putting a follow button on my profile as opposed to a connect button. And that was just a way of me expressing my preference. Follow me first, we'll talk, and then we'll connect. There's nothing wrong with that. it,
Yeah.
it works well in either way, but that's
Yeah.
what works well for me. Yeah.
Yeah. With
By the way,
being the LinkedIn guru, Jeff, what would you say if someone was struggling on LinkedIn and you would give them advice, as you do, because on your newsletters, I mean, they're fantastic because you always impart so much wonderful advice. And so if someone was struggling on LinkedIn, what are the top 3 tips you would provide to them?
well, let's do it in what I really have done this for a long, long period of time. When I first developed what I wanted to say about LinkedIn, I broke it down into kind of 3 categories of things, and I called them my 3 Ps. Okay. So if you're struggling, the first thing that you need to concentrate on is your profile. That's your story. That's what's going to get you found, because if it's got the right keywords on it, it's got the right story out there for it. That will help you get your name out there, get you found, and begin the process, if you will. And by the way, your profile's never done. So
Mm,
again, I've been on LinkedIn since May of 2004. My profile's still not complete. Okay.
mm,
First of all, because LinkedIn keeps changing stuff and I can add new stuff to it, okay, which is nice. But also because of the fact that because your life is always changing, your
yeah.
profile will be always
Yeah,
changing as
and your
well.
career changes as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
Circumstances change constantly. Mm,
So the first P is profile. Get your story together. Okay. The second P is people. You've got to find those people that you want to network with. And normally I say that, you know what? You've got an address book. You've got people that you already know. Ask them to connect first of all, because they'd return your phone call. They'll probably say yes when you ask them to connect. Okay. And then the third one is, you can have the best looking profile. You can have the biggest network in the world. Okay. But unless you do the third P, nothing really ever happens. The third P, the first P is profile, the second P is people, the third P is participate. And there is a reason why that third P is the only verb. It denotes action. You have to actually do something on LinkedIn, which means either participate by putting your own content out there or go out there and comment and interact with other people's content. And that is a part of participation as well. And that will then allow you to, again, tell your story. Because if you're offering someone, your 2 cents worth on as a comment, you can put in the fact that, hey, I grew up being an IT geek, okay, so I can relate to this question. Those kinds of things are always possible on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And I talk to so many people that I'm not connected with every single day. I mean, I probably talk more people I'm not connected with than the people that I am connected with on LinkedIn, because of the interaction of those things. And the neat part about it is my network helps me out, because if they comment on one of the posts, it has a chance of showing up for me to see it, right? So,
You know,
and
with
machine, as
mm,
far as LinkedIn is concerned, I just comment on the stuff I really want to see more of and continue to do that. And then LinkedIn keeps feeding me. It's kind of like Pandora for professionals.
mm.
Pandora being the music app, right?
Yes, yes,
Thumbs
that's
up,
right.
thumbs down. Well, okay, well,
Mhm.
it's got to be more than just thumbs up and thumbs down. But if you comment on enough stuff that is what you're interested in seeing, LinkedIn will actually feed it to you.
You know, your three P's are valuable because so many people, they concentrate on the first two. They put a profile up there, but it's a static profile. They connect with people, but they don't get to know the people. But with the P number three, where you actually participate and there's the toing and froing, a bit like having a conversation. It's got to be a two-way conversation, hasn't it? Otherwise,
Exactly.
all you're doing is lecturing. So the three P's, that's a fantastic way
Yeah.
of putting it to help people. And,
Well, that's
and
right.
Jeff, you know, there is so much value and wisdom that comes from you with regard to LinkedIn, because you've been doing this now for so many years, and we both now have a newsletter on LinkedIn, which is a fantastic feature because it enables content creators such as you and myself to be able to share what we're really passionate about. I'm all about careers, you're all about LinkedIn and connection, and so tell us about your newsletter, because I want people to go there and follow your newsletter as well.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I'm subscribed to probably 15 to 20 different newsletters, including yours, because I want to see these. And again, the variety is the spice of life.
Mm,
I don't have to be talking about LinkedIn or reading about LinkedIn all day long. Okay, it gives me a good break to talk to someone else who again shares a background, like you do with me in terms of HR and the career development and coaching, and by the way, a teacher is just a different kind of coach. Okay.
yes.
I mean, coaching and teaching are two different things. I do understand that by all my other coaching friends. Okay. So I realize the difference. But my newsletter is about LinkedIn tips. My newsletter is about being effective on LinkedIn. And to me, being effective is knowing how the tool works, understanding it in detail enough so that you can accomplish what you need to accomplish on it in a few minutes, and then go off and do what's really important, which is the rest of the networking in person and building those relationships inside and outside of LinkedIn.
Mm,
But if you want, please, you can see not only my newsletter but other things if you just go to my profile, click the follow button. Okay. If you really want to see my newsletter, then what you're going to have to do is go to my profile, scroll down to where it says see all activity, click that, and then click the articles button. Now this will work for you as well, so I recommend that people do this very same thing on your profile. Go down, scroll down, click see all activity, click articles, then click that first article, which will probably be a newsletter. Okay. And once you click that newsletter, then you will see the subscribe button, and you can click subscribe, and you'll get another one the next time that it comes out.
mm,
That's a major difference. That's one of the reasons that newsletters are so powerful on LinkedIn. It's one of the only places on LinkedIn that you can be guaranteed of getting someone's content because you clicked a subscribe button.
mm,
Now, okay, in all fairness, I have to warn people, yes, if you click the subscribe button, you are going to get an email from me. Okay. But you're only going to get one more email a month because I only publish my newsletter once a month. So it is just one more, but you will be notified. And if you want to be sure to be notified, the only way to do that is to subscribe.
mm,
And I love that feature as far as LinkedIn is concerned. I wish they'd continue to roll it out to everybody. There's
Yes,
some of my friends that use
they were
them.
rolling it out and then they stopped for a while. But you know what
Oh,
would be
yeah.
really good that I wish that they would do on LinkedIn is make it easier for people to subscribe to your newsletter. So, for example, if they landed on your profile and right up at the top where there's the follow or the connect button, there is subscribe to newsletter button, then that would make it so much easier. If people follow you, they'll be notified anyway, but it's just they may just want the newsletter. And I think that would be a really good extra button to add there too.
And
Now,
wow,
Jeff, I could talk to you all day, and I'm sorry I've kept you a little bit over time today, but it's
oh,
because it's been
my
so
pleasure.
interesting. And what final thoughts would you like to leave with us with regard to careers or transition or retirement or LinkedIn?
Well, I think one of the things that I subscribe to as a teacher, okay, is that I think the best teachers show you where to look, it, it, but they don't tell you what to see. Okay. So for me, do that same thing on LinkedIn. Just because I'm using it a certain way doesn't mean that you have to use it that certain way. Find out what it really is for you. And I think more than anything else, a lot of us have said this many times as well. It's true in life. It's true on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn with a purpose. Go to LinkedIn with a goal in mind. Because if you do that, you'll be focused enough to find what you need out of LinkedIn. Because I can almost guarantee you, if you want to do something, you probably can. Okay, using a tool like LinkedIn because it's about networking. And honestly, networking is like air. You need it to survive.
Mhm. Very, very wise words from Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru. Thank you so much for your time, Jeff. It's been absolutely magic. And I've enjoyed looking at the Superman logo behind you as well.
I have enjoyed this entire time. Thank you so much. I would love to talk to you again sometime on Zoom, and compare notes again, because that's part of the beauty of LinkedIn, is it allows you to actually get together with folks that you admire and compare some notes.
Oh,
Thank you.
definitely. We will be collaborating.